How do you manage salespeople? That's what you asked me down in the comments of another video. So today, I'm going to share with you how to manage salespeople. Join me for that on this edition of the Inside BS Show. Hi, it's Dave Lorenzo. This is the Inside BS Sales Tip Show. Today, we're answering the question, how to manage salespeople. I'm going to share with you 6 critical tips, 6 very important, impactful tips for managing your sales team. And I'm going to share with you one thing that you should never ever do. And that'll be at the end of the show today. So you got to stick with me. It's the one thing I almost did that almost crushed me, almost killed my company. And I don't want that to happen to you. So join me for the 6 tips to manage your sales team today and the one thing you should never do. All right, let's dive right into the content. What you need to do if you're wondering how to manage salespeople is sit down with them at the beginning of your tenure as a manager and get them to describe the sales process. Then, after they've all had a turn, everybody on the team has had a turn describing the sales process, have them agree that this is the most effective sales process to close deals fast. Once everyone agrees on the process, then you hold them accountable for following that process to the letter. Think about it for a minute. Your salespeople know better than anyone, better than corporate, better than you, better than any manager they've ever had. They know how to do this job. So when you get them all together and you get them to develop this process and write it down, they're going to teach you how to sell. You don't have to have any experience at all managing salespeople. You've gotten them to write down the sales process. Now you've gotten them to agree that this is the best process to close deals in your business. So all you've got to do is hold them accountable for that process moving forward. That's step 1 for how to manage salespeople. Get them to tell you what the process is, get everybody to agree on the process, and then write it down, and then hold them accountable for following that process. That's step number 1. If you're ready for step number 2, let's go get step number 2 right now. Point number 2 for how to manage salespeople is always focus on your process. Here's a story for you that illustrates what I'm talking about. When I was coming up through the ranks in the hospitality industry, in one of my roles, I was a catering service manager. This means I was responsible for the setup and breakdown of all the rooms, including buffets with all the food products and everything that went on them. We had a process for everything. I worked for a very structured hospitality company, and there was a standard operating procedure for everything. And our food and beverage director at the time was one of my mentors. He was a fantastic person. And one of the things that he focused on as part of the process was always making sure that the cold side of any buffet was iced down and was really cold before we brought out any of the food products that went in there, especially perishable products that could lead to foodborne illnesses. So his question to me always was, have you got the mayonnaise products on ice? That was the symbol, that was the avatar, that was the focus point, the touchstone for making sure I was following the step-by-step process. So step 1 was to set the buffet table, step 2 was to cloth and skirt it, step 3 was to put in all the equipment that was designed to keep the cold food cold and the hot food hot. Step 4 was to ice it down. Step 5 was to put all the food products out on the buffet, right? So he would say, have you got all the mayonnaise products on ice? That was his way of making sure I was following the process. So if you're looking for a factor that's essential in managing salespeople, you have to follow your process always. Your process will make sure that you're being consistent, and consistency is the key to quality when it comes to managing salespeople. So put your mayonnaise products on ice. Be sure you're doing that, but also make sure you're always following your process when it comes to managing salespeople. We're up to point 3 now in managing salespeople, and point number 3 is set expectations. This means that you tell everyone on your team exactly what you want from them. You tell them when you want it. You give them a process to follow, and then you turn them loose to achieve the outcome. I prefer that you get buy-in from those folks. Let them set their own goals, and then you turn them loose and have them ask for help when they need it. It's so important that you set appropriate expectations. So for example, you sit down with your top performer and you say, okay, last year in the month of May, you did $20,000 in sales. This year in May, conditions are even better. Do you think you can do 26,000 in sales? That's a 30% increase. Can you possibly do that? And see what they say. If they say yes, then say, okay, so I've got your commitment then. You're going to do the 26,000 in sales. That's great. Let's go forward and achieve that goal. And when they say, okay, Dave, I'm going to go forward and achieve that goal, I say, what do you need from me? How can I help you remove the barriers that could be in your way to achieving that goal? Let's list out what the barriers are, and then I'll help you remove them. When you do this for your salespeople, you're enabling their success, you're setting expectations and enabling them to be successful. This is point number 3 in how to manage a sales team. Be sure and join me for point number 4. If you're getting a ton out of this video, type "Hey now" down in the comments. Go down to the comments right now and type "Hey now" because you're getting so much out of this video. I will respond to your "Hey now" with a thank you and a thumbs up because I appreciate you interacting with me right here on YouTube. Are you ready for tip number 4 for how to manage salespeople? You better be, because I'm out here in the 90-degree Miami sun and I'm melting, just dying to give you tip number 4. Here it is. Track progress, measure, report it out, and help people stay on track. If you're looking to manage salespeople, you need to track their progress along the way. Now, you may have heard me say before, track, rank, and publish, and that's great. But we're talking about individual growth. Salespeople are highly competitive, so when it comes to tracking their progress, you should measure them against their own success over time. So when they first got into the role, here's the baseline. Here's where they were. This is their first month on the job. Now they're 6 months into the job. Look how far they've come. Look where they've grown. Now they're a year into the job. Compare the year mark to the 6-month mark to the first month mark. Now they're 2 years into the job. Compare year 2 to year 1 to 6 months to when they first started. They're 10 years into the job. Compare their growth year over year over year over year. Use their better your best process. Use this better your best process to motivate them, because salespeople are not only competitive with one another, they're competitive with themselves. So the better your best process, tracking their own personal progress over time, is a fantastic way to manage salespeople. That's tip number 4. Join me as we move back inside to the air conditioning for tip number 5. Tip number 5 for how to manage salespeople is rank your top performers and focus on the best of the best. You should spend 80% of your time with the top 20% of your sales team members. I'll say that again. You should spend 80% of your time with the top 20% of your sales team members. Most sales managers, most people who manage salespeople spend 80% of their time with awful performers, with their bottom performers. You're trying to elevate them. You're trying to get them up to the middle of the pack. And you know what? You may get them up to the middle of the pack for a month or two, but they're still going to be crappy performers. They're going to be miscast. So don't spend any time with your lousy performers. Spend 80% of your time with your top performers and spend the remaining 20% of your time with the middle of the pack performers, and just fire the terrible performers. Don't try and rehabilitate people who are crappy. Spend most of your time with your top performers. So you've got to rank everyone and focus on the people who are at the top. If you do that, you will be amazed at how they can double or even triple their sales productivity. Rank your performers, focus on the top of the top, and you will drive success throughout the company. This is tip number 5. Make sure you stick with us all the way to tip number 7. I said it before, I'll say it again. Tip number 7 is something you're not going to want to miss, because you will make a mistake that I made, and I'm going to teach you what the mistake was. You don't want to make it. So tip number 6 is coming up, and then the can't miss tip number 7. We're up to point number 6 for how to manage salespeople. And point number 6 is publish results and evaluate. The thing about salespeople is they're intensely competitive. At least if you're hiring the right salespeople, they're intensely competitive. So you can track the results that your salespeople are achieving and then publish them for your company, publish them internally, and evaluate the performance of each member of your sales team. Now, this evaluation process can be formal or it can be informal. The track, rank, and publish methodology, track, rank, and publish, works really, really well for large sales teams. The people who are in the top 5% should always be recognized and rewarded. The people who are in the bottom 5% after a given period of time when they're allowed to try and correct their performance, they should be fired. And then the people in the middle, you should be elevating them. You should be pushing them to achieve the results that they've committed to achieving, which means that they've committed to achieving their goals. So tracking, ranking, and publishing is essential to being a great sales manager because you need to know where everybody stands, and your people will want to know where they stand. Now, it's really great when you publish the results and people call you and they say, listen, I'm not in the top 5%. I want to be in the top 5%. Here's my action plan. Can you evaluate it and tell me where you think I can do better and where you think I should focus less? That's great. When your salespeople do that, and some of your really good salespeople will do that, it allows you as the sales manager to help them help themselves. The problem is when they don't ask for that help, what do? And you let the reporting speak for itself. So you're tracking, you're ranking, and you're publishing, and you're looking at their performance, and you review their performance for the last month, and you say, hey, listen, you're below the top half of our work group. Is that the best you could do? And they're going to say no. And then you say, all right, tell me what you're going to do to improve to get into that top quartile of our entire work group. I want you in the top 25% of everybody that works with us. What are you going to do to get there? And then they'll tell you, and you can evaluate their plan. You can critique it. You can put some fine points on some of the things that they're looking to do. But the measurement is the driver of the improvement. It's the driver of growth because it helps you push them in the right direction. So tracking, ranking, and publishing the results, and then evaluating the results, and then improving based on that evaluation is essential. And that's point number 6 for how to be a great sales manager, how to manage a sales team. Point number 7, the one thing I told you needed to watch out for is coming up right now, so don't miss it. Here comes point number 7. You were looking for tips for how to manage salespeople, and I gave you 6 of them. I gave you 6 really great ones. Now I'm going to give you one thing you should never, ever do. This is the thing you've been waiting for. The one critical, fatal mistake you could make. Before I tell you what it is, I need to remind you this is just one video in a series. Join me for the other videos in this series. Click the link right up there, or click the link when you see it at the end of the video. All right, here's the one thing you should never ever do when it comes to managing salespeople. Never embarrass a salesperson in front of his peers. Never do that. Never embarrass them in front of their peers. Never embarrass them in front of their client. That's death for you as a sales manager. If you're looking for the one thing you can do when it comes to managing salespeople that will kill your career, it's embarrassing the salesperson in front of their peers or the client. Why? Because if you embarrass them in front of their peers, you're gonna lose their loyalty. You'll lose the respect of everyone else on your team, and it may make you feel good in the moment, but it's going to hurt you in the long run because that's not what real leaders do. If you embarrass them in front of a client, the client's going to think you're a schmuck. The client's going to think you're an idiot. The client's going to go, why is this guy doing this? The salesperson is immediately going to get their resume out on the street because they can't work for you because you're a jerk and you embarrass them in front of a client. Never do that. It's common sense, but I see it done every day. I see sales managers shaming their salespeople every day. You shouldn't be doing it. I want you to be successful in the long run, so never do that, but do this. Join me in our next video in this series. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Got more great sales management tips for you. I will see you in the next video right now. Click the link. Click it. Click it.